Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to spend a couple of minutes. It's not going to be a very long video because it's not a very complicated reel. But from time to time I'm asked, can I take away some of these old bait casting reels, take them apart, show you how they're made, and how to service them, and how to keep them fishing. And this one, I only paid a couple of dollars for it. I got it at a local flea market. Interestingly enough, it was put on a modern rod, which was kind of curious. But it works. I guess that's the important thing. Now, this is not a very collectible reel because the condition issue on it is tough. There's some, I'm just going to use a quick file here. There's some rust and chrome loss. There's chrome loss on the reel seat. There's chrome loss on the back of the line guide shield. So from a collectability standpoint, folks generally are going to look for the one that's pretty. This one has exterior side plates that are nice, but not much more in that regard. This is the Bronson Fleetwing. It's model 2475. I'm going to say it's late 40s or 50s at best. That was kind of like the heyday of these reels. It could be a little bit earlier, but it's got what's called German silver plating on the side plates. Bronson takes its name from Bronson, Michigan. Michigan was one of the hot spots for these types of reels in that time frame. Not only were the Bronsons made there, but Shakespeare had its plant in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And there were a couple of other central places that made reels at the time. New York had a vibrant fishing reel industry. Kentucky had a vibrant fishing reel industry. And overall, they seem to cluster. Philadelphia clustered with Ocean City and Penn a little bit later, actually in the 30s and 40s as well. Yep. So, all right. So I start by taking external parts off. I have a glove to keep my hand clean from any lubricants, but in this case, there's not much going to be going on there. And I use a parts tray to keep all my pieces and parts so that if when I go to reinstall, I know where there are. This is a simple case, simple reel. There's two screws that hold the case on. I'm going to put them here because I like to put a drop of oil onto them to make sure that they go in easy, and if there's any rust, just to kind of make sure that that dissolves and goes away. Now we can pull the main side plate off. In the side plate we have a gear assembly, and in the gear assembly we have three pieces. We have a gear that drives the spool. We have a gear that we have a separator. We have a little washer here, and we have the main gear. So this smaller gear is going to drive the spool. This gear is going to drive the if I got that right. Sorry, the small gear is going to drive the worm gear. The larger gear is going to drive the spool. All right, so you just want to take it apart, lay it down, then you want to just get some grease. I'm going to use Penn fishing reel grease. Grease the shaft. This is a square mounting surface, so let's get that on. And there was a little washer, separator. Then there was the main gear. And I'm just looking for the way that it matches or meets in. So I just turned it around there because that's the way it should spin. And then that's all you have to do for the gear assembly. You can put grease on here now because there's a ferrule on the outside of the case here, so you want to make sure it gets lubricated underneath. Let's go ahead and put that in. And just to make sure I have the orientation on those teeth correct, I'm going to go put the handle on. Just lost the seating on the small gear here. There we go. There we are. So just going to put this in quickly, and then I'm going to just seat this to make sure that I have the gearing in the proper order, and I do. All right, so just pull this spool out. So with that, then I have the orientation correct, and that's kind of what I say about taking pictures. If you're not familiar with the reel, take pictures. Of course, I'm taking pictures with a video. And this one wasn't too tough. If it wasn't spooling that way, I would just simply switch that main gear around and get it in the right orientation. But I thought as I took it out and laid it down that I had done that. Turning nicely. These handles move, but they're not moving that good, so I'm going to just use some penetrating oil on it, get it on the post. So I'm going to let this sit while we do the rest of this reel. So the spool just came out. You want to make sure that the spool is clean. Use a paper towel or other things to make certain that that happens. This is removable. It's a spool gear, and you want to make sure that you get grease on that. Both sides. This is the case. I was talking about that from a condition issue standpoint. This is very rough. If you wanted to knock the chrome pieces off, you could use a little file. There's chips there. Again, this is not in my mind, this is not a good example of a collectible reel, so I'm kind of just voting on that so I don't get chrome chips everywhere. You got the same issue on the back here. You could use that file to do that. But again, that's more for a cosmetic effort than it is for anything else. Now, this thing, I've noticed this already. There's a screw that has a widened slot over here, and I don't think that can get removed to service the pawl. And yeah, it's been played out way too long. It's working. I'm going to leave it alone. If you had a pawl that wasn't working, then you can grab that with a pliers and do some other things in terms of twisting it, but I'm not going to do that at this point. I moved the line guide all the way over to the left because you can slide this worm gear out, and you can get some grease on that. I'm going to probably put a little bit too much on there. I'll wipe that down. You also notice that we have some flaking going on in here. When you knock that off, you can kind of see what that how that's going. And then I'm just going to push this back then. You want to make sure that the nose, if you will, of that line guide is in the slot here. And just feed it back in. And then when you get over to this side, it's got to mate into the hole in the case here. So just make sure all of that is done well. And you can put a little bit of grease onto the side there. So we've greased the spool, we've cleaned the spool, we've greased the gearing. I'm going to put it back in. And that's a basic service on one of these, short of just putting the side plate screws in. You want to line your side plate up. Grab those two screws. And we'll give it a spin. We'll see if it's crying anymore, if those handle knobs work any better, if the line guide is nice and smooth. I would expect that the answer is going to be yes to all of those questions. These weren't complicated reels, but you know what? They've stood the test of time. I don't know why the fellow was selling this one, but well, like I said, it only cost a couple of bucks. And here we go. Look at that. You got a nice, smooth operating reel. Again, from a collectability standpoint, it's not very collectible because of the condition. It's a Bronson Fleetwing. Again, my estimates are the late 1940s or the 1950s. I'm not sure exactly when that was. But I'll tell you what, you can put a line on this and you can take this fishing. That's simple. There is no anti-reverse. You can pedal backwards if you like, fight the fish. But overall, it's a nice little reel, and for a couple of dollars, it's an education in terms of taking it apart, seeing how it works, and freeing up some of the stuck assemblies with a little bit of grease and oil. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you're a first-line responder in this pandemic, whether you're EMT or police or health worker or essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you're doing. If you've had the opportunity to spend a minute watching this, well, thank you. I know your off time is precious. And if we're not on the front lines, then please listen to the people and what they're telling us to do. Wear the masks, maintain your social distance. Do our part. We'll all get through this together. So if you've enjoyed that, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.